Start. Happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday, and happy day 3 of the Internationalization and Athletic Summit. I'm Tim Bryson, founder and CEO of Walk with TFB. I'm very excited to host the second year of this Internationalization and Athletic Summit, focused on the growing relationship between the two processes. I'm very excited that we get to partner and really communicate with our friends from another country, another continent, who are representatives of Loughborough University, to talk more about sport, parasport, and internationalization. So for those in the United States, my personal opinion, I believe we talk enough about parasport and internationalization in the context of sport. I'm so very excited for not just what we'll learn today, but also how we can take what we learn and kind of apply it in our own way in the United States context. Before we jump into the facilitated conversation today, we'd love to make sure that you all know who is in our room, but really who are our panelists for today. So we'll start with Femi, move to Emma, Matt, Ben, and then Alasdair to share more about who y'all are, what's your story and your current role at Loughborough, to provide some context before we jump into our call today. So we'll start with Femi.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Femi. I'm the Director of Athletics, and that would be track and field at Loughborough University. So I was a triple jumper, went into coaching, and then went into the managerial role. So did some work with our home nation, England Athletics, and then with our governing body, British Athletics, along with Alasdair and Emma, and then moved into the role at the university. So that's me in a very quick whistle-stop tour.
I appreciate it, Femi. What's up, Emma? How you doing?
Good. My name is Emma. I'm the program manager here at Loughborough for athletics, track and field, as Femi said. I was a sprinter back in the day, and then I've just been doing basically program management, administration for the last 10, 15 years, working across various sports, mainly athletics. So for British Athletics, our national governing body, Welsh Athletics, back to British Athletics, and then eventually linking back up with Femi here, who we used to work with.
That's awesome. Appreciate you being here, Emma. What's up, Matt?
Hi, everyone. So my name's Matt. I'm the athlete recruitment and projects manager at Loughborough currently. So my background is in the sport of badminton. So as an athlete, I was ranked top 10 in England, top 150 in the world for doubles and mixed. That led on to a career in coaching. So I spent 10 years coaching at England junior level. Eventually arrived at Loughborough as the badminton program coordinator. Really enjoyed kind of working on the recruitment side and getting athletes in the door. So that kind of progressed into what I'm doing now in terms of working across all our program sports at Loughborough.
Glad you're here, Matt. What's up, Ben?
Hi, everyone. Ben Daly. I am our international officer for North America at Loughborough University. So I've been at Loughborough now for almost 10 years, 3 as a student, and the last 6 or 7 as a member of staff. In my role, I'm primarily responsible for student recruitment from North America across all study levels, but increasingly I'm responsible for managing Loughborough's overall presence in the USA and Canada. So internationalization really is the focus of my role.
So got you here. And last but not least, Alasdair.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Alasdair. My role's head of parasport. So that means, in effect, I cover everything around Paralympic sport, disability sport that goes across campus. And that's everything from our guys who aspire to go on and compete at the Paralympic Games and win some medals this summer, through to our disabled students who want to be physically active and get moving, and also supporting those around them to do so as well. I've been in my role just over a year. Before I started off in track and field as well as a middle distance runner, and worked in various roles in athletics. As Femi said, I worked with him and Emma at British Athletics at a point. I then worked for the British I worked for British Triathlon for 10 years, particularly in the para-triathlon team, basically bringing in and recruiting and developing athletes, which has sort of brought me into the para space, and then brought me into the role I'm in now. So good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending where you are.
All right, now good to see y'all. So let's get straight into this, because in my own research, I think for anyone who types in Loughborough when they spell it correctly on Google, they're gonna find World World University of the Year, Sports University of the Year, like y'all are premier university for sport globally. So in y'all own words, I don't know who wants to take this question first because I'm curious to hear really from all of you all because y'all have different perspectives, just given your unique roles. Like, what is Loughborough? Who is Loughborough? Just give us some context for those, especially who aren't based in UK or Europe, in regards to who y'all are.
I'm happy to kick off.
You go back.
So yeah, I guess we're widely recognised as the premier sporting university within the UK. So we've got a really strong reputation for sport. We have a couple of accolades which underpin that. So we're ranked #1 in the world for sports-related subjects by the QS rankings. Also, we are BUCS champions, so that's British Universities and Colleges Sport for 42 years running. So we're #1 for competitive sport and have been since the inception of that competition. So yeah, I guess aside from that, also we're really strong academically, so regularly ranked in the top 10 UK tables, or the recognised rankings in the UK.
Well, I mean, what you got to?
I think it's from a sort of personal perspective. So I was did my undergrad and postgrad here as well, and I remember finding to apply for university here, we had to do a personal statement. So I remember looking back at mine, and I think I was 14 years old, and I just was like, I want to go to Loughborough. And it was the only thing that I wanted to do as an athlete at the time, and as a sports person at that time. It just has that reputation that it doesn't even matter what you kind of want to go on and do in life. It was just like, I just knew that I wanted to be there. We have a little bit of a sort of saying here that you bleed purple. So as you know, the African violet purple is the Loughborough colour. You'll see it everywhere. And it's just one of those things that just kind of gets in your skin when you get here. There's such an amazing kind of history of sport here that no other place, I don't know, in the world can sort of really capture that. As Matt said, it's the decades of success that Loughborough has had, and it's just a real special feeling when you're here and you're able to watch and see so much sport going on. We definitely don't have the huge stadia like they do in America. We definitely can't compete with the crowds, but it's just it's so amazing to be on campus and knowing that so many people are doing sport right here in such a small place.
Wow.
I think, Tim, as well, there's some things that just intrinsically about the campus mean it's set up for sport. For US viewers, we're very much in that college town style setup. We're a big university campus, one of the largest single sites in the UK. And for student athletes, their housing is on site, their facilities are on site, all their training is located on site. So from an athlete perspective, it's super easy to be a student athlete because everything is so accessible. Whereas if you go to institutions in the US or lots of institutions across the UK, you'll have to travel outside of the university complex to get to your facilities. So whether that's for student athletes or for external playing teams wanting to come in and use Loughborough as a training base pre-competition, it's pretty well set up for either of those options. So there's those intrinsic things about the campus that mean it's well set up for a student athlete's lifestyle as well.
There is just I'll jump in a little. Like, one of the things, we are known so much for our performance sport, and we have that beauty that we have, we have world record holders here on campus. We have students who are really world class. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. We have students who are really genuinely world class. We have that massive competitive student body as well, but we also have a huge offer for like recreational sport. We have an enormous, like, our intramural program between the halls is fiercely competitive. We have hundreds of people coming to watch those games. We probably get some of our biggest crowds for some of that kind of activity. We've got some going on this afternoon on campus. Like, we have free activity every single week that people can just go along and play. But we also have a huge amount of student development. So this year so far, this academic year so far, from our 19,500 students, they've delivered over 85,000 hours of volunteering. So that's students learning to be coaches, learning to be S&C coaches, learning to be like physiologists, it's students facilitating general activity, it's students coming in, supporting Emma as a, as program manager. So learning all the different trades. So we develop sports people, but, we get literally thousands of students every year come to Loughborough with a dream of being a superstar international athlete. And only a few of them will go on to achieve that. But the number of athletes that we turn into fantastic sort of sports administrators, coaches, etc., is a huge part. And if you go into any sports organization in the UK, it's full of people from Loughborough. We are in every governing body, we are in every club, every sport. I think, as Emma says, it's something that goes through people, and it's something that's remembered, and we do really kind of infiltrate the system as effectively, and internationally we find it as well. So it's the entire sporting ecosystem that's supported by the academia as well, which is pretty cool to be part of.
So I never opened a map and heard y'all talk. I would have assumed, and I did assume prior to looking into this, that Loughborough was based in London. But I quickly found out that it's not. and so, Femi, I would love for you to talk more about, we just heard, all the great things about Loughborough, but Loughborough is also the site and really the hub for many sport governing bodies across the UK. So can you talk more about what it means to have the governing bodies right there on y'all's campus, really close by, giving y'all's reputation and performance as a sport university globally?
Yeah, so I guess just adding to what everyone's saying is Loughborough is classed as an elite sports centre. So we have loads of governing bodies that are based within. So I think the LTA do some of the stuff with tennis. We have British athletics that are based with us. We have British swimming with the swimming. So, for example, when COVID hit, the first places opened in track and field was our centre, and along with swimming and some of the other areas. So we were the first ones that got sport going from an elite point of view. But for us working with the governing body, what it does is attract some of the elite athletes and the elite coaches to work out of our centre. So we can work side by side with those athletes and those coaches and create that environment that is high performance, but as well as supporting kind of like the next generation coming up that work side by side each other. And it's kind of that nice blend of everyone working together.
Good stuff. And so let's move this conversation forward and talk about, is it books, BUCS?
Bucks.
What is it? Yeah, Bucks?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? How is the system set up? Obviously, we know, we learned yesterday a little bit, it's different than the NCAA model. But what is it?
So BUCS is the British Universities and Colleges Sports. So it's like the governing body for university sport. And they run a championships across all universities in the UK. So each sport every year will compete in league competition, in one-off events, and compete to earn points. And then all the sports combined go to a total points tally. And then an overall winner is crowned at the end of the year. So that's the competition that Loughborough's won for 42 years, which is a pretty staggering achievement, really.
Wow.
Especially considering the challenge we are getting from other UK universities and have done over the years. But BUCS is just a really great competition. I'd say it's quite difficult to compare to NCAA. Emma mentioned about the huge stadiums and things. We don't necessarily have that side of things. But I'd say the competitive level in BUCS is very high. So you still might have really high level athletes, Olympic athletes competing in BUCS competition.
How many sports compete in BUCS? Like the championships?
There's over 50.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so it's a big old competition.
And so,
I think as Matt mentions, there's a different format. So obviously the team sports will have their kind of leagues that go on throughout the winter. As athletics, we have 3 main weekends. So we have our cross-country championships, our indoor championships, and our outdoor championships. So we just had our outdoor championships at the weekend just gone. And that's an opportunity it's basically anyone that wants to compete at any university can do. It's kind of like a massive sports day for university. So it's a 3-day event here, and you will go and compete as your team. So Loughborough in athletics is the biggest team. We send 130 just to track and field championships, but other universities might only send 5 competitors. And it just completely depends on what the structure is. And it's the same with team sports, I guess, that they will have kind of weekend competitions and then knockout stages. And then, as Matt said, the points will get accrued at the end and tallied up.
So obviously coaching is important, but I also learned that y'all recruit athletes to come and compete for y'all school as well. So can you talk more about the recruitment process, both for sport and parasport, related to your individual sport functional areas, and then Alasdair for your parasport more globally? How do y'all recruit? Or how are y'all recruiting?
I guess the perhaps the easiest way to approach it is to identify some of the differences between UK recruitment in our institutions and the way US universities recruit. So where in the US you've got the eligibility rules around NCAA, we haven't got those in the UK. So any student at any university is eligible for bucks as long as they're over 18, I think is right, 18 plus. So we haven't got the kind of years rules of eligibility. So particularly around graduate school, that's a really great opportunity for US student athletes to continue studying for 1 year here at grad school and continue playing if they've exhausted their 4 years of eligibility in NCAA. And they're eligible to do that in the UK, they can carry on. We don't recruit directly to programs in the sense that you're first and foremost in the UK, you're a student. That is your primary role. You're not an athlete first and foremost, you are a student. And so you come to UK to either earn a bachelor's degree or to earn a master's degree. And then you play sport alongside your studies. Now, whenever we get to the very elite level, I'm sure Femi and Alasdair can perhaps talk about the very, very top level athletes where it may be slightly different. But on the whole, we recruit students, first of all, who are attracted to Loughborough as an institution. A lot of the time that will be because of our sporting reputation. But they're coming to us first and foremost as students, and then to play sport alongside their studies. And that'll be across all the different levels that we have. Yeah, I'll pass over to someone else to touch on the very elite level recruitment because I'm not directly involved in that.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, so from a track and field, we're constantly looking at where our gaps are and where we can kind of make some gains. So if we need a long jumper, we'll actively go out and recruit a long jumper. If we need a javelin thrower, we'll go and recruit javelin thrower. From the US market, obviously we talked about eligibility. They can come in and they can go for another 2 years if they wanted to stretch. One of the other advantages is we do international competitions as well. So there's the opportunity of some international competitions, which some of them have prize money. So again, as long as it's not in the UK and it's abroad, they're eligible to take prize money. But we predominantly look at our gaps. We've got our performance standards as well. So we would then look at who we can bring in for the different areas we're trying to gain those extra points from.
So on a pivot to parasport, Alasdair, we'll talk more about strategic direction for both parasport and disability sport at Loughborough. I'm given that you've been there a little bit over a year now. Hold on. You're muted, my friend. 1 second.
Sorry, someone had to do it.
Good.
Sorry, do you want me to go through recruitment specifically or to go across the piece?
Let's go across the piece and then come down.
Yeah. So in terms of what we, I suppose in terms of what we do, like my wish and, you know, working with everyone is that we have an equitable offer for all our students. So, you know, at the moment, and this is something that's building, you know, parasport being a part of us on campus, we are the most dominant or the most prevalent in this area in the UK, but there's definitely a lot more we can do. You know, we have a lot of different programs, but we can have more. So, you know, the dream, I suppose, is that we have the same number of sort of performance programs available to our para athletes as we have to our non-disabled athletes. Like, that's on a performance level. We want the same breadth of opportunity. We want to make sure that the offer they get is equitable within the sport. So, the coaching they get, the support they get from an S&C coach or a physiologist or a biomechanist or whatever it might be is the same. And that's something we aspire towards. And, you know, the track and field guys are a great example of where that happens really, really well. And, you know, we get guys who like want to come to us because almost our offer is even better than a governing body can give sometimes.
Wow.
And that's what we can do because of the facilities we have and because of the brilliant staff we have. And we also want to make sure there's a competitive opportunity for them. Like the guys have mentioned what a great competition Bucks is. Like, I think back to being an athlete myself, and it's some of the happiest, most exciting memories you have because it's just a different environment, a different atmosphere. And we want to make sure that the para-athletes have access to that as well. So that actually means, you know, working with other institutions to make sure they're part and parcel of it. So that's kind of what we aspire to. And we aspire to have that sort of offer in performance sport, but also, you know, in the like the participatory offer as well for our disabled students. So to bring it into like the recruitment area, sort of, we have so we do have a number of foreign students. There's a real variety in that in terms of who are para athletes. We have them across a whole different variety. So we have like Ahalia Lettenberger is coming, who's an American Paralympic swimming medalist. She comes here after the games this summer on a Marshall scholarship and is coming here and spending time with here in swimming and will really help develop our swim program, which is one we're trying to get through. Within athletics, we have Ntando Magalu, who is a double Paralympic champion from South Africa. He came through and started back last autumn, and you know, a long jumper runner, competed in a few different events at Bucks at the weekend, and really helps us sort of push that side forward. We have an Egyptian badminton player. We have a Dutch wheelchair basketball player. We're really keen to be, you know, we're not just a British university. On a British sense, to be honest, our recruitment comes down to the fact that we offer stuff that other universities just don't offer. You know, if we bring people on here and we talk about, you know, the stuff I'm talking about now, there's very few universities which have that kind of offer. And there's certainly very few people through their schooling will have access to the sort of support that we can give them. You know, I know working in this space, I'm really privileged to be in a place where we can genuinely say to people, look, this is our offer and this is what we'll do for you. And we know that it will be better than virtually anywhere else they've sort of had access to. So that's a big part of our pool. But again, you know, we also then have to make sure we do a good job with them when they come here, and we improve them and make them better. And we're in that position in so many of our sports now where we consistently deliver, and therefore we can move forward. Like we have a women's wheelchair basketball team, which are in 3 seasons have only lost 1 game. And therefore any female wanting to go to uni in the UK who wants to play wheelchair basketball is going to look at coming to Loughborough, because they know that that's where they develop, and that's where the most players have gone on to play internationally as well. They come through us and they get better chance. So I suppose that's a smallish snapshot of what we do.
No, for sure. So I want to stay on that for a quick second because you mentioned that what y'all are doing at Loughborough, both with parasport and obviously other sports as well, is unparalleled across the UK. So why has Loughborough invested so much, particularly in parasport, to ensure that it's where it needs to be, but also continue to grow to where it'll become?
So I think as a starting point, when Loughborough was established back about 115 years ago, the founder of the university put sport at the centre and health and well-being at the centre of what we do. And therefore it's grown from day one as a place that is about health and well-being and you know, the interaction of the body and the mind. So we know we're incredibly lucky compared to other universities to have that as a central theme. And you know, as we've talked about, we've had so much success over a long time. We needed, you know, it's something we want to keep going. Our vice chancellors do not want to be the ones who then lose Bucks. So they're committed and we get that commitment to push us forward, and it's brilliant.
Sure.
In terms of parasport, you know, we've been known for a long, long time as the best university in the UK in terms of sport and what we achieve. But for quite a long time, we kind of ignored a lot of parasport, and there was the odd student, because there are, and there will be, but we didn't actively go out and do a lot. And it was actually some ways like some of our governing body partners who were doing it more. And I think the realization is, if we're going to be truly the number one in sport, and we want to be the number one in sport in the world, and certainly in parasport, that's our aspiration. We have to do that across the board. It's not just in non-disabled sport, it's in sport for everybody. And that's something that's that's really and truly important to us. And we need to represent, we're not here just to represent part of the country. We're here as the whole full thing. And our country, as across the world, there's a lot of disabled people, and we want them to have that same equitable opportunity to come and be successful. And we want to be part of that, and not sort of just go, oh, well, we're just going to work on non-disabled people because that's easy. We want to do the stuff that's right, and that's really important.
Good stuff. So I moved to Ben for this next question to focus on internationalization. And so, again, a lot of schools talk about it. I think I want to know, and obviously see on this call that y'all are about, put words to actions to words. So what is, or what are Loughborough's internationalization priorities right now, as you see and as you're operating on a day-to-day?
Yeah, I think that at Loughborough we've seen a fairly significant step change in internationalization over the last 2 to 3 years. There's been change of leadership at the institution in that time, and therefore new strategies and everything else come into place. The key things that we've identified are that we can't do everything, and we can't be the best at everything, and therefore we are prioritizing the things that we think we are uniquely good at, and those are climate change and net zero, and sport and well-being being two of our really strategic themes to drive forward. And while they kind of sound like, I guess, they sit in silos, they don't. We've got some quite interesting research being done across those two themes, from an academic perspective, in sport, climate action and nature, and how we use sustainable materials for sport and apparel going forward, how sport and apparel can be made more inclusive, gender-based, and for parasport, as well as Alasdair's been talking about. And then moving right into our real expertise in sport and well-being, we've got our Sports Technology Institute, which is the world's leading institute in that area. And they have all sorts of really fascinating research, which then has real world impact. So, for example, the FIFA World Cup soccer balls are tested and designed here at Loughborough within our school through a partnership with Adidas. We have a world leading expert in surfaces, and she does a lot of work around, currently the big thing is replacing carcinogens in artificial pitches and removing rubber crumb and finding the material that will work going forward for athletes' bodies and for the environment and for the weather across the world. And how do we find the most optimal material to use going forward? And so those research pieces that we have, the research expertise that we have, are really driving our international priorities to drive us forward as not just a institution that does these things, but as the world's leader right at the cutting edge of these research areas. And that's driving everything that we're doing at the moment in terms of internationalization.
Good. So Matt, where's this money coming from? Like, y'all got all the money to do everything over at Loughborough Institute. I mean, parasport, like, where, I don't know if it's probably a larger question, but like, where's funding, support, are there donors? It's like, what's the model? Like, how was it set up over there?
So I think that at Loughborough, we're quite unique in that, in terms of UK institutions, in that we've got pretty diverse streams of funding because of our campus setup. So a large part of university funding in the UK comes from tuition fees. There's no particular secret about that. Universities are funded largely by tuition income. But at Loughborough, we've got all sorts of industry partnerships and all sorts of other things located on campus, which play into that. The philanthropy and donor scene in the UK is very different from in the US, like different worlds almost. So I think that tuition is still a significant part of our income, but you've also got those diverse streams of income that we have at Loughborough.
Some of the
I think we also seem to do good stuff on minimal budgets, and we're almost having to like be targeted to do those sorts of things. So our scholarship budgets, for example, within the sports are so much lower than they are in the States, in terms of we won't necessarily provide free rides as they would have in the States, but we provide incentives to come and help with tuition fees and help in different ways that we can provide to all. So we can provide support services, physiotherapy, massage, the kind of expertise, which is slightly skewed to how it would work in the States, I guess. And then we'd look at different sort of salaries that the States might have and what we would have in the UK, and there's a massive difference in terms of investment in the sports salaries, but we just kind of make do because we all love it so much. And it's just, yeah, I think different kind of ways that things are done. So it's not that massive investment comes into sport, we just are able to do great things with the facilities that we have.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm way more integrated with the academic side of campus too, as far as from a research standpoint, which we aren't doing the best job at, my personal opinion. But I want to stick with you, Emma, Femi, and Matt to talk about trends in y'all's area related to obviously track and field or athletics, and then recruitment. What have y'all seen either pre-post pandemic, but really over the last 3 or 4 years in regards to whether it be participation, again, the recruitment of athletes, whether it be from unique countries, attitudes of athletes that you're coaching with. Just like, what are y'all seeing?
Yeah, that's interesting. Just to go quickly. So I think participation is up massively in sport. I think because we had, there's a couple of years where people just couldn't do anything. So our club membership was probably sitting around the 300 participants in track and field alone. We've just tipped the 470 mark just within one club. So that's just one
track.
sport, just track, yeah. 470.
At the university level.
Yes.
It's not a university sport.
That's just track. And that's, one of how many sports we have here at Loughborough, 60. So we are by far the biggest, but it's not unusual that the trends have just gone huge. People just want to be doing something. They want to run, they want to jump. I'm loving your expression right now. Looks like you're still in shock, but yeah.
Hold on, real quick. So you're telling me a student at Loughborough who's not on the university team can just go like long jump in an event?
Yeah, they turn up and they say, I want to do javelin, and we will find them a coach. And I mean, I'd say about half of those athletes are distance endurance runners, but yeah, we have pole vault, shot, hammer, long jump. And some of them, we kind of stipulate that you should have done it maybe a bit, especially if you're going to do a technical event. But if you're a sprinter and you've done some sprinting at like high school and you want to come along, we give you the opportunity, and we put the competitions on here at Loughborough so you can compete as well.
That's goes wild. Matt, you see anything different? Femi, I see you laughing too. What's going on?
I kind of echo what Emma said, but I guess from a general perspective, recruitment has become far more competitive, especially here in the UK as well as internationally. So like Loughborough obviously has a really strong reputation. I think in the past we've probably relied on that a lot. So we're having to be more proactive. The levels of programs at other universities have improved. So we've had to continually look to raise the bar in that respect. I guess we have a lot of athletes here at a high level looking to go to the US. So that's quite a big challenge in terms of competing with the scholarships and what you have to offer over there for sure. And I think just generally we're having to just become more creative and innovative in the way that we recruit our athletes, really. It's just a much more competitive space. I mean, if I revert back to badminton, which is my sport, that's gone through quite a lot of change. So maybe 10 years ago, a lot of athletes would go into the national centre and getting funded to play badminton professionally. Then there was a big funding cut. and then a lot more student athletes we get at universities like Loughborough. So I think it does depend on the sport, and it can go through waves. I mean, that example obviously linked into funding.
Femi and Alasdair, like international student participation, like roughly percentage wise, how many UK versus non-UK athletes in y'all's area?
International for us is very low, and that's probably one where we're looking to really capitalize on. I mean, Emma would have the numbers, but what, 5%, if that.
Low, yeah.
Yeah, probably a little bit lower, low numbers, but quite a broad range. So we can have athletes from all over the world, but not massive numbers.
Yeah, so for us, we honestly believe, certainly from a post-grad, the international students, where we can really capitalize on those kind of like older athletes that come in at that level right from the start. So obviously Emma explained how ours works. So we sometimes will get someone at a low level and develop them up. So they might not come through until year 4, year 5. But if we can get someone on the ground running at that sort of like slightly older age, or at that level that wants to continue, that's where we think we can really capitalize on recruitment.
Good stuff. Is there anything different, Alasdair?
Not really. Sorry, Fem.
Yeah, the other thing I was just going to say is our strength and depth in coaching. So we talked about pretty much all the event groups are pretty much covered, and I think that's one of our strengths for track and field. We do ask for something like pole vault or hammer, which is like so exclusive, like you must have done that before you start. But most of the other events, we've got coaches that can cover someone who says, I've never done it before, I want to have a go, to someone that is looking to go to the Olympics. So that's why we have such big numbers, because we can cater for everybody.
And yet, just from the para perspective, international numbers, again, you know, I can name them all. The numbers are pretty small, 5-10% probably in total, in terms of those performance athletes. An area we definitely need to kind of look at growing, and that's almost part of the next stage. You know, we've had a para strategy and someone in my role since 2019, from a predecessor. So we've kind of established where we are. We're setting things out, and we're starting to like deliver that. And I think, you know, one thing that speaks volumes to that actually is one of the athletes that Matt would have worked in badminton. Yaz, who is an Egyptian badminton player, she is just desperate to do anything she can to stay in Loughborough now. Like when she doesn't want to finish her degree and move on, and hopefully we can, you know, master's, PhD, and all that stuff. But because of what we give, again, compared to other areas, so we need to kind of capitalize that and get out and shout about ourselves a bit more internationally at this stage.
That's good stuff. So coming to you, Ben, about this next question, because like someone mentioned losing some athletes to the United States or other countries, but now obviously trying to recruit more internationally as well. So like, is there a conversation around like either talent drain, but also increasing international student or athlete participation versus taking UK athlete spots? Like, I guess where, and I'm sure everyone can speak to this a little bit, but like, where's that conversation and what's the climate like right now in regards to that?
I think that the big thing at Loughborough is that we want everyone to have the opportunity to access sport at whatever level they find themselves competing at. The big thing that has hampered recruitment from the US specifically over the last 4 or 5 years has been the additional year of NCAA eligibility that you guys have had. We've been praying for the end of that here in the UK. We just can't wait until this last year's out of the way. Because of course the big draw, I guess, for US grad school athletes is to come do their 1-year masters, continue playing, and of course whenever they got that additional year, all of a sudden that extra draw was gone. And so that's kind of hampered us at Loughborough. And as Matt was alluding to, in that time, I think a lot of other UK universities have kind of caught up with us in terms of recruitment. So we've been trying to drive that forward. Yeah, we don't try to compete on the scholarship space, and we never will. I think that what we're offering is the opportunity to continue playing your sport at the highest possible level in a sporting ecosystem that is pretty unlike anything else you'll experience at any higher education institute across the world, never mind across the UK. So by coming to Loughborough, you really will experience something that's pretty unique.
Yeah, so when you mentioned, well, over 50 some sports and books, relationship with the governing bodies as well, but there's also an academy on y'all's campus, the NFL Academy, well, at least one of them now is on y'all campus. So Ben, can you speak more about the relationship or really the, I guess, conversation or communication with the academy on y'all's campus?
Yeah, so 2022, the NFL Academy announced that they were going to be leaving London, where they were originally based, and moving their site up to Loughborough University. So it's a partnership between Loughborough University, Loughborough College, which is a 16 plus further education institute just across the road from the university, and with the NFL. And between us, we house the NFL Academy, which is the 16 to 19 player pathway. So we have 16 to 19-year-olds from over 60 countries taking part in the academy. And we've got so far in the 2 years that the academy has been located here, we've sent 15 of those NFL Academy graduates on to D1 schools in the US to play college football. The most high-profile one, I guess, has been Timmy Oke, who's signed for Northwestern in the year just gone, and he was the first to sign for a Big Ten conference team. So that is growing, and our relationship with NFL is growing. I know, Tim, you've got a real interest in the internationalization piece around the NFL and their internationalization work. I guess from a university perspective, we're looking at how we can develop that relationship and how our research and our world-leading expertise around concussion, head injury, shoulder injury, how do those things play into that broader relationship with NFL, in addition to developing student athletes and helping them along in their cycle of education and competition.
It's excellent. So as we begin to close this conversation out, I want to forecast a little bit. Obviously, I've done a lot of work. I think the phrase I wrote down, which I love, is consistently delivered. I think, Alasdair, you said that. But looking ahead, these next 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, where y'all going in your individual areas, as y'all look ahead to the future of Loughborough sport and Loughborough parasport, and of course, internationalization.
I'll kick off with a correction as well. I just said 60 countries at the NFL Academy. I meant 60 players from 14 countries. So I would bet that's going to raise a few eyebrows if people hear 60 countries.
Good.
Internationalization, I guess that one thing that is really exciting that we're just kind of setting out on, which I think over the next 3 to 5 years will be the big priority, is the Global Sports University Network, GSUN. Loughborough and University of Oregon are the founding partners, and there are 9 university partners from across the world that are part of that. And their initial summit is taking place this September in Eugene, Oregon. And that really is to start to harness the global expertise that exists across institutions in Canada and Japan and Germany, the UK, Australia, all over the world. And so developing that, I think, is going to look like one of the most exciting opportunities. Also, how we harness our expertise around the next 5 to 7 years in the US with all of the exciting international opportunities coming up there with the LA Olympics in 2028, men's and women's FIFA World Cups. I'm sure we'll be coming to the women's isn't announced yet, but 2031 looks likely. And the Rugby World Cup going out there at the turn of the decade. So how we leverage our expertise around those big major world sporting events where we will have Loughborough practitioners at them and Loughborough graduates and probably Loughborough students as well competing in those events.
What's the name of that network again?
That's GSUN, Global Sports University Network.
Okay, so excited to hear more about that. Timmy, you ready to go? Thank you, man.
Yeah, I guess from a international representation, it would be great if we could have someone from America that comes over here doing the masters that we support to make a team. And then just again, what I think we do well academically is support that dual career. So again, Emma, how many people did we have in Budapest last year from that was still studying, current students that went on to Budapest? I think we can do that internationally. So I'll let you come in, Emma.
Yeah, I think we had, I think, 8 current students that made our just our track and field team. So if you look across the spectrum on how many current students are going to make the Olympic team for Paris across the sports, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, 50 plus, like just making a British team. I think the swimming team is just announced for the British swimming team. 3/4 of it is Loughborough or something crazy like that. They're either Loughborough students or they still stay here to train because it's one of the best places. So
that would be where I'd like to be in 5 years. That someone says, I want to go and do masters because I've still got the aspirations of making the games, making a team, whatever that will be, and we can support that on that journey. And then that will just again start people coming through. So pretty similar with what we're doing with our para recruitment. We initially starting off with kind of like 1 or 2 athletes, and then we just tried to get them to do as many events as possible just to showcase para. And hopefully by next year, we should have the athletes doing their own event because we've now got that strength and depth of everyone doing what they come to do. So that's our aims from a PowerPoint. And again, if we can get international, a bit like swimming, para students coming over and again supporting them on that journey, that's where I'd love to be in sort of like 5 years' time.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks, Emma. Something matter, Alasdair? I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think from a general perspective, Tim, we just want to continue creating awareness, especially in the US. We've already done quite a lot of work on that, but there's still a lot of people that don't know about the offer here. So yeah, we definitely want to continue to make links and collaborate with you guys. I think similarly across the world as well in other countries, we'll perhaps look to target some countries in Asia. Obviously, it depends on the sport and which sports are going to be big in certain nations. But yeah, internationally, that's a massive area for us to keep pushing. I think generally across Loughborough Sport, I think one of the reasons we recruit is the strength of our offer. So we're obviously going to continue to push that and develop that in all the different areas. So our facilities, we're going to keep on top of that, keep them up to date, and we've got some really exciting plans coming up for facilities in the future. And then just the general support around the athletes, making sure that we're kind of the best thing there is on offer for a student athlete coming from the US.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
For me, I think just to pick up on that, how we develop in the next 5 years is really down to how well we deliver what we do now, to speak to what the other guys said, and that continual development. And I think part of that is that ability to shout about what we do. From a Paralympic perspective, it's to put the Paralympic Games and the Olympic Games on the same level, and to make sure we celebrate the success, because we undoubtedly will have success. And if you come down to our track any day, in particular, you come down to the track and look at the centre, you'll see, either Loughborough students or British Athletics funded athletes who all choose to come and train with us. And you'll see world champions on both the Olympic and Paralympic side all over the place. And we need to really, really shout about that and let people know what we're doing, to speak to Matt's point. And I think if we keep working on that, we develop our staff as well, and develop our staff to be truly world class, working with everyone, and make sure that that's absolutely central to our offer, because across the world there's a lot of people who don't have the confidence working with disabled athletes, and we want to make sure that we send people out there who really do, and and almost to say what I said earlier, like to spread the word from where we are. And finally on that, for me, we're looking to establish like a British hub of parasport to be a really true hub, working with our national governing body partners, working with UK Sport as our main funder, working with the British Paralympic Association as the people who take us to the games. And they're all guys we already have partnerships with, but using both our sport and our research offer as part of that, because that really allows us to, you know, to sort of increase what we're able to do, and to give real tangible benefits. So both amazing research, but also, you know, develop that in a really strong way. And I think if we can do that, and using all those partners, it just increases what our offer brings, to both British students, but also to international students.
Well, it's good. So my last question for y'all is, how can I best support y'all and what y'all are trying to accomplish? Whether it be visibility, I'll be at that GSUN Summit, so I'll see you in Eugene, Ben. Awareness in the United States. Like, what can I do to best support y'all on what y'all looking to accomplish and will accomplish over at Loughborough?
I'm unmuted, so I'll start. I suppose in a way, like, to shout about what we do, to let people know about us. You know, as you said, you kind of assume that we were in London. We do have a tiny little campus actually in Loughborough in London. But you know, we're not probably as well known across the US as we are in other places. So to shout about what we do, to share, you know, link us into people. Like, you know, I think we're all more than happy to go and talk to the right people, and share our story in the way that we have now, and share what we have as an offer.
Love that. Well, definitely.
Yeah, second that absolutely. We appreciate you putting on things like this, Tim. And I think a big part of it is that education piece, as Matt mentioned as well, around the opportunities for student athletes, but also the expertise that exists here at Loughborough, and whether that is from an academic perspective or from a practice perspective. You have got the world leading practitioners and academics here to make use of, and so they're really keen to develop collaborations across the Atlantic. As you can imagine, it's quite an attractive prospect for them if they can get a trip out there. So as an institution, we're very outward looking at the moment. There's a lot of yes being said to things. So it's a really exciting time for us as an institution. So just advocating for the opportunities that exist.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, check this out. I'm gonna need an African violet purple. I'm gonna need something, a polo, a t-shirt, a hoodie, something.
Yeah, definitely, Tim. We'll sort you out.
I appreciate it. When I come visit campus, Emma and Femi, I'm gonna throw a javelin. Never done javelin, but we're gonna figure it out. Yeah, I got to coach somewhere.
Oh, we've got plenty of jav coaches, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw the javelin, my friend. Yeah, that's blow my mind. I'm gonna think of that all day. But good to see y'all first and foremost. Look forward to seeing y'all in person. Hopefully soon, much more sooner than later. I love this conversation. We'll continue to amplify the work that y'all are doing, as I truly believe in it. I know that it will continue to change the world, not just in the UK, but globally as well. For those who joined us on the call today, appreciate y'all being here. We have 2 more sessions today. One focused on virtual exchange, and another one focused on sport in Saudi Arabia. So look forward to seeing y'all at those sessions later today. But Loughborough family, look forward to seeing y'all soon, and we'll definitely follow up here in the near future.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks,
Sure,
Tim.
for sure.
Thanks, Tim.
Good to see you. Y'all be safe.